We're live. Great. Okay. So we're going to start the meeting this evening by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Help me along here, guys.
One nation, under God,
Under God,
Under God,
with liberty
and justice
justice for all.
Nicely done. And now we have a guest singer of the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
That's amazing.
Was.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Absolutely incredible. Beautiful. Thank you.
Whew.
Andy
That's,
Juliet, she sang that from their new farm. They just leased a 1-acre farm in East Amagansett. And she went into the shed and sang that. So
oh
thank
my
you.
God. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. I
That
love
was great.
Thank you. All right. So let's discuss what's happening here this evening. We have, in order to keep the business of the Village of Port Jefferson moving forward, we had scheduled some public hearings on some code changes. I think some of these were housekeeping, Brian. Also, I think one stemmed from the workshop that we had back in the fall. Is that correct?
Correct.
So these documents are posted up on portjeff.com/virtual meetings. So if you want to follow us along, if anybody's watching, you can go up to the website and look at these sections of code. And Brian, which one are you going to start with this evening?
Thank you, Mayor. We're in order of the agenda. The first hearing is attachment 1 of chapter 250, the increase of special use permit fees.
Okay, so that's the one that is a chart, correct? It looks like a chart for the board here. Yeah.
Okay. And that this section is a housekeeping result of the hearing we had a while ago. Now we start to lose track in these times, but it was a few public meetings ago, where the board undertook changes to the special use permit and the outdoor dining permit. In this case, this is a housekeeping commensurate with the changes to the outdoor dining. The only changes proposed in this section of 250 attachment 1 is a special use permit application fee increase from $100 to $200, with a renewal at $100, and a seasonal outdoor dining permit. The current fee is $60. The increase is $100 per table per year.
Okay, and those were actually voted on within the body of the code, but then we just have to actually correct them in the table, which is sometimes what people, take a shortcut right to the table to see what the fees are, correct?
Correct.
Are there any comments from the board members on this? And Bruce, if you want to speak, you just have to be unmute yourself. If Bruce
I
DeBramo.
was shaking.
Yeah, I recall, when we voted on this, and I didn't realize that the chart was not, updated. So, yeah, I'm certainly in favor of this.
Yeah, again, it's just kind of housekeeping.
Right.
Anybody else? Comments?
Just a quick comment, a reminder that if Danford's puts out their tables that have not been used for dining, but have been put in place previously, that we would get revenue from them.
That's correct. And I think to just further comment on that, I believe the tables that are in the Mariners Park are still subject to approval by the town of Brookhaven for an assembly permit. Correct, Brian?
That's correct.
Yeah, we haven't seen that approval yet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I hope we can all have a very good assembly sometime soon.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing on this change of code for 250 attachment 1.
Move.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And
Aye.
I'm going to make a motion to adopt the proposed change to the schedule.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, Mayor, is section 250-44.
250-44.
With regard
Okay, and that's-
to clarifying when a building permit will not issue. This also is a product of our workshop that the Board of Trustees had with the Planning and Building Department. The board will remember this
Right.
well. There was a question about the introduction to 250-44 on building permits and the interpretation of building permits by the building department with regard to a language in the code that says no building permit shall be issued unless if the proposed new construction or use is in full conformity with all the provisions of this chapter. And there was a disagreement with regard to what full conformity meant. The intention of this section change in 250-44 is to make clear that no building permit shall be issued and remove the language in full conformity, but restrict it to only when an open ticket is issued under the village code. So in all other circumstances, a building permit would issue unless there was an open ticket under the village code. Other violations or old conformities can be sorted out, but that would not be a reason to delay or object to a building permit.
Okay, so that basically would, just to further clarify, that there's an action pending actively in the
Correct.
court.
Correct. As opposed to a cheat sheet that might otherwise disqualify a property for a building permit, while those potential violations can remain and be cured in the future or sorted out through the process. The building permit would only be objected to if there was an open ticket issued under the village code.
Okay, so, and Brian, so let's just speak to the heart of the code change as presented. And I think that's a good policy because it keeps things moving forward, and that the other conditions, as you say, can be cured during the construction phase prior to the CO being issued. And when the CO is issued, everything else is cleaned up as part of that process.
Correct.
Okay.
There
Are
was-
there any comments or?
If I just, before we move off, just on, that's the only change. There was one of the sections that was proposed to be changed. This was an earlier version of the law. We're actually going to withdraw that section for now. There was an exemption, a proposed exemption with regard to building structures owned by the village. There was some feedback from the state that may not have been permissible under the building code. And there's an open question until, especially with this form, until that's resolved, we're going to withdraw that proposed request at this point. So
Okay.
the only change is going to be that change to an open ticket under village code.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, violations that were like 15 years old on some buildings in Port Jefferson actually stopped building permits in the past. So I'm clearly in favor of modernizing this section of the code, because it still provides, if a action is in the court, a ticket has been written, that's got to be clarified. So I'm wholly in favor of this.
Thank you, Bruce. Any comments? Motion to close the public hearing.
Moved.
All in favor? Motion to adopt. Motion to adopt the code as presented.
Aye.
Is that a second by Trustee DeBramo? You got to unmute your mic, Bruce.
Yes, I'm seconding that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And for, again, that's Lorraine Berardi is our court stenographer. And Lorraine, if you need us to clarify or slow down, just let us know. Right? She can't hear me. Okay. Can she hear me?
She's muted.
She's muted. Okay. Brian, next section, please.
Next section, Mayor, is section 85-11. This is to clarify licensing fees.
Okay.
This is purely a housekeeping ministerial change proposed by the building department, which I reviewed with Allison Lapointe. The current section talks about special licenses and fees for eating and drinking establishments and retail food establishments. Under recent modernizations of the code, we've eliminated that language and changed it now to be in conformance with the proper definitions in the village code, which are restaurant standard and restaurant takeout. The fees remain the same without any change. This is purely a verbiage change to update it to the modern definitions.
Excellent. Any comment from the board? Motion to
Once-
close- oh,
Once
sorry.
again, I'm in favor of this. I move to close the hearing.
And I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
And motion to adopt as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and the last section, Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. The last public hearing is to amend section 250-18F and 250-39C of chapter 250. This is a little bit more of a sophisticated change, and I'll run through what this change is. There has been a question with multifamily housing with regard to the charging of residents for parking. So the proposal, as suggested from our workshop, again, this is a product of that very valuable workshop the mayor and the board of trustees hosted with the planning and building department, that the proposal is to add a requirement that on mixed occupancies and freestanding apartments, this is new, any required parking shall be provided at no cost to residents of the new apartment.
Excellent.
Because the planning department and the board of trustees, I should say, and the mayor in that planning seminar felt that we shouldn't be able to count parking spots and then later have them charged that the residents can't use them. The concept was for the residents to actually use it. So any required parking shall be provided at no cost to residents of the new apartment. With regard to finding additional reuse of buildings, there was a dispute with regard, or not a dispute, I should say, an interpretation with regard to conversion of space and finding a requirement for additional parking on an older non-conforming building. So if you converted a non-conforming building, which we have a lot of older stock in town, say from an office building to an apartment, you would have had to find and provide parking for all of those uses, thus freezing our building stock essentially in a historic iceberg from decades ago. The proposal here is to add in where it talks about providing of parking, that new apartments in this paragraph shall not include renovated or converted spaces in an existing building where the proposed renovation or conversion does not increase the total square footage of the building. So if there was a 2-story office building and the intent was to convert the second story of that office building without any addition of square footage, without any change to the building square footage at all, that conversion with no square footage change would not require new parking as long as it's in an existing building.
Okay, so 2 parts here. So what we saw happen at the, what's the name of the building there, the Tri-Tech apartment complex? What's the name of that? The Hills?
Ship-
No, Shipyard. Thank you. So what we saw happen with the Shipyard, where they start charging the tenants for the parking spaces, we're prohibiting that now moving forward. Correct? That would become a violation of code, correct? Once we pass this?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
and the second aspect is, I think, a result of our work session when we had the owner of the property come and ask whether or not that was the intent of the code when it was adopted. I don't know, in 2000 and I think it was 13 or something, we felt that that was punitive. And so if an old office building is converted to residential, not changing any square footage, no additions to the structure, then the parking calculations would not require any new parking to that building.
Correct. And I think along the lines that this board has been very is embracing the concept of mixed use in a downtown, which is very modern planning theory. When before mixed use was a dirty word. It was an office building. It was a restaurant. It was an apartment house all by itself. Now, modern planning is mixed use, encouraging green building of reusing existing buildings as opposed to finding new lots to build upon, reusing otherwise non-economically available spots to become apartments. And this allows that conversion.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brian. Do we have any comments or questions from the board?
Comment.
Yes, Bruce.
All right, so across from the library and going up the hill, West Broadway, almost at the base of the hill, there are multifamily homes. This would not affect them in any way. Is that correct?
Correct. It would not. This is only on conversion.
Yeah, it would not affect them, especially if they didn't change the square footage of the building, right? And for that reason, and for the amount of older building stock that we have in the downtown, I'm completely in favor of this change.
Do we have any callers on, Kevin?
No
Kevin?
callers. No callers are on at this time. No callers.
Okay.
Oh, before we close too, I just want to add one other point that was in here that I overlooked. That's also important. We also, the one proposal of this aspect is on non-conforming uses that you cannot change any buildings to a non-conforming use. And what we're doing is we're also proposing to accept any apartment conversions to not be changed to another non-conforming use. Meaning you can have an apartment building conversion in an existing building to encourage that mixed use, and it would not otherwise jeopardize the non-conforming status of the rest of the building.
Okay. Sorry, I had two dogs pawing at my legs there just before. So I think any further comments from the board? All right, motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, guys. Thank you. You guys are great. Thank you for doing the homework on these and getting prepared. So we're going to move on then to the agenda. The first part of the agenda is to approve the minutes from the meeting of March 16th. A point of order, is there any requirement for me? I don't have to approve the minutes from the budget hearing, do I? Brian?
You do.
I do, right? So we'll do that at the next meeting?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. So looking at the minutes from March 16th. Bruce?
I had an issue, and I don't recall exactly what it was. It was just in the wording at the bottom. Let me just get another device so I can look at that while I'm still doing this.
Sure. And Mr. Miller?
Comment.
Yeah, Bruce?
At the last meeting, Kathy Ann had stated that her comments from the previous meeting were not included, and I had made a motion to include her comments, and I'm wondering if they have been included to Kathy Ann's satisfaction.
Yes, I was able to get those over to the clerk and they were added. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was wondering if our reason to go into executive session meets the requirements to go into executive session. You know, it wasn't for a contract or a personnel item. It was to discuss COVID-19.
Brian?
I'm not sure I follow. What was the?
Well, so in
Look
the
at the
minutes,
motion. Look
yeah.
at the motion for to go into executive session. You know, from our previous meeting.
Did we discuss any human resources impacts from that at the time?
We did. We talked about personnel and how the virus would affect, you know, any potential furloughs or changes in schedules and that kind of thing.
Correct. So I think it meant, I think Trustee DeBramo's point was it should be for purposes of personnel and labor.
There you go. So if we
So
could
can we
amend
say-
those,
To amend it to say the impacts to personnel and labor due to the COVID-19 emergency?
that would be fine.
Thank you for the clarification, Bruce.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the minutes from March 16th?
Stan was saying something, but I think he was
Oh, I'm
muted.
sorry, Stan.
No, we did discuss essential workers, non-essential workers.
I think we discussed the definitions of those, but we
Mhm.
didn't.
No, not personnel in particular.
Oh, yeah, when we were in exec session. Right,
Correct.
so I think if we say the impacts to labor and human resources, I think that covers us.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or clarifications on minutes from March 16th? Okay. So just briefly, I believe most of you are aware that every day at 4 o'clock, myself, Kathy Ann, because she's the Commissioner of Public Safety, Administrator Palumbo, and Clerk Sakovich, we all go on a 4 o'clock county phone call and we get the updates from Supervisor Balone. Every other town supervisor is on, as well as the village mayors, approximately 170 people on the calls. They've been very informative. Can be very difficult to follow at times, but you know, what we've realized is that daily and sometimes even hourly, there are changes to the executive orders that are coming down from the governor's office. So it's been very hard for us to follow. And it has at times caused confusion as to how to direct our staff. And then today, in fact, there was just another clarification I sent late this afternoon that that earlier in the month, they had deemed construction, anything other than emergency construction or any kind of construction not related to supporting our first responders and hospitals, was deemed non-essential. And then today there was a clarification that if you had a sole proprietor or one contractor working, that was an exception, or that could be deemed essential. So, you know, that I think, you know, is a clarification new to us. And so that and sending that to Barbara and Joe, I don't know if I emailed you, Brian, on that one today, but I brought Allison into the loop because then it makes, you know, it makes enforcement of, you know, what we deem essential and non-essential according to the governor's, you know, mandates and how it's changing, very difficult for our code enforcement bureau and for the building department to be able to follow on almost an hourly basis. The other challenge that we're having is the way that complaints are being phoned in, emailed in, sent in via Facebook, text messaging, flash driving us. We're getting bombarded from every direction with complaints or concerns. And I hope to remind everybody that I consider our code enforcement bureau first responders. You know, they're on the front line, they're out there. We've actually increased the number of men and ladies on each shift if necessary, to help, break up gatherings and, be out there checking to see whether construction is going on until the building inspector can get there, and that kind of work. And so I've instructed the Code Enforcement Bureau they must have at least 2 officers present before they address a large gathering of people. There's been a lot of stories about how the groups can be antagonistic and they can be confrontational, and we're not putting anybody in harm's way. So I just want the Code Enforcement Bureau to use, their radios, use their sirens, use their lights, get a call for backup, and when necessary, of course, in breaking up a large group or gathering, to, of course, then call Suffolk for backup. I think everybody is aware that we're trying to now streamline the way those complaints are getting in. So Fred, Chief Lute would like to be able to address the complainant, get the information, the date, the complainant's address, their phone number, so he can kind of catalog these and address them properly and send out an investigator if we need to look into these complaints further. I want to commend Joe and Barbara for having to deal with staff on an ongoing basis in the various departments, trying to first and foremost keep our workers on payroll. We have not furloughed any staff at this point in time. We have been working with staggered work shifts and, making sure that people feel safe and protected in the environment, and working with each department individually. But we want to make sure that the village government is up and running and vital services are being provided for, and that, records are being maintained, and, that the business of the village carries on. So I want to commend them because we've had some challenging questions presented, and they're working with our other counsel, Gerard Glass, who's doing an excellent job on guiding them. And, I think we're here till at least the end of April, and hopefully we can continue to follow the same guidelines in the workplace. And if we have to go longer, then the village may be presented with a situation where we'd have to deem some staff at that point non-essential and furlough them. And that would mean that they would have to take accrued time instead of working together on a staggered shift and staying together, working together as one unit. So again, I want to commend them, and I want to ask, Brian, if there's any particular questions about an individual department or an individual staff member, that we may wait and go into exec session if that would be a preferred way of handling it, if there's any particular questions.
Yeah, only because of the mechanism of the way this is. Yeah, it would be better to do it that way. Okay.
And so I wanted to also let everybody know that you can go up to the Suffolk County's website. They have built an interactive map, and I have announced that domain. It's suffolkcountyny.gov/COVID-19. You can go there and you can see the data, which is the cases that have tested positive by county, hamlet, and village. And if you look at that data today, and Cuomo's speech and our phone call this afternoon, we're going to look for another day or two of results and see if we have gotten to the top of the curve and see how long we plateau at that point. That is not necessarily good news. It just means that the social distancing that's occurring out there right now is working, and we're hoping to get through this, sooner than later. So we encourage everybody to continue to only come out when necessary, and wear your gloves and your mask. Did I miss anything on that, Kathy Ann or Brian or Barbara or Joe? I feel like I'm playing Hollywood Squares. You guys okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, I think
you covered everything, Mayor.
What's that?
I think you covered everything.
Okay. Brian?
Yeah, I agree. Kudos to the village staff that's doing an incredible job in the face of this. They are the front lines as being essential, and we appreciate them getting out there, the DPW and the parks, and all that sanitation that still continues. I mean, it's cleaning up our downtown. It's important. I think you covered it all.
Okay, great. So I wanted to also then, just remind everybody that we did pass the budget at our last meeting. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to add some light to my room as the the darkness comes in. And you can still see a copy of the budget on the website. If anybody had any concerns or questions about that, but we was our first Zoom meeting. We covered that effectively, and want to thank everybody for that. And
I have a comment.
Sure.
So basically, I'm not saying it specifically in the budget, but we have talked about having a contract person for repowering, Mr. Robert Foxon, who we have employed for this purpose in the past, who we have hired. And I had talked at previous recent meetings regarding using funds that are available in this year's schedule for that purpose. And working on this, I've been trying to network and get some alliances with organizations like civic organizations and the Sierra Club. And I've had a fair amount of success with that. Now, the Charlie Bevington, the director of the Sierra Club, wants us to put on an actual symposium regarding proposals for repowering and the benefit environmentally to Suffolk County, et cetera. And I'm wondering how we go ahead with that and when to go ahead, because I've been kind of.
This is, I'm just giving my report when we're into your report. I think the next thing that we need to do is we need to set up a Zoom meeting with Bob Foxon, right? Was that our next step? We're gonna
Yes.
set up a meeting with Bob, right? And then I think Bob was going to update his proposal and get that to us, and we could probably take action on that by the next board meeting in the next couple weeks. So Barbara, would you help us set up a Zoom meeting with Mr. Foxon?
Say again?
I asked Barbara if she would help us set up. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm not really sure about heading up a symposium because I think that's a premature, for repowering all of Suffolk County. I want to focus basically on my power plant, our power plant. So let's take first steps with Bob Fox and we'll go from there.
I had no intention or idea of doing a Suffolk County wide. I wanted to do a symposium for us with the Sierra Club, et cetera, to show the benefit of our proposals, which we would have to organize with Mr. Foxon. So I want to make that clear. I'm not advocating for all of Suffolk County. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So last thing I want to just report on is some really good news. About 2 months ago, maybe less, I have a very hard time on timelines at this point in time. Allison Lapointe, myself, and Barbara, I think you were in on the meeting, or Joe was in on the meeting. We had met with the builder who was going to be our master developer last year before, the National Grid moratorium and some of the other things that happened with the state budget, Walnut Hills. And they have put together a concept for the parcel, which includes the diner, which is the northern section of Perry Street. It looked like a very favorable project. It was not going to be then connected to the parcel, which is in the first cluster, which would be on the south side of Perry Street. Originally, they were proposing one large project that was going to bridge the two sides of Perry Street, but now they're looking at breaking it up. Well, I'm going to reconnect with them because we've had this pandemic interruption to see where that proposal would be. So it'd be one little bit of a smaller development. I think it was probably 34 units involving the diner parcel, and then there would be a separate application for the northern side of Perry Street. But the good news tonight is that we got word, I think it was Friday, from the Conifer organization that their project has been approved by New York State. So the workforce housing project that is proposed for the Bada Bang corner, the southernmost corner of Station Street there is been approved by New York State. We will be doing a joint press release with the Conifer organization, probably at some point this week, in conjunction with the governor's announcement when they move forward with an official announcement. The Building and Planning Department has been working extremely closely with that applicant. I mean, almost to like the widget, right, Brian? And
Yes.
on the construction of Station Street, the utilities, the burying the poles, the electrification of, the building. So we've been doing a lot of detailed work with them, and the plans are, next steps would be for those plans to be officially then submitted to the Building and Planning Department to go through their secra and their planning process on parallel tracks. So we're very grateful that Conifer has modified that plan and come back with a full submission. And it's important to note that the state has deemed construction on workforce housing as essential. So there should be no delay with respect to the COVID-19 pandemic and helping that project move along. So that's really great news for this community and for a fantastic shovel in the ground for Upper Port. So I will continue to work with them and have another report back to you on that, on the other developer formerly known as Walnut Hills. And with that, I'm going to move on to Trustee Laux. Stan.
Okay, with regards to number 2, I discussed this with Brian. Danielle's duties have been expanded quite a bit. She's now working in our pro shop, which the village has taken over. We are running the pro shop. So Danielle will be over there a considerable amount of time. And she's been with us long enough. I think it's time that we promoted her from aide number 2 to aide 3. Barbara, I don't know the exact salary amount, but I believe it's only about $2,000 difference. Can't hear you.
Oh, Kevin.
Go ahead, you're unmuted now.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, she starts at the entry level of 3, which is 38.6. It's a little bit more than the 1,500 per the union contract.
Okay.
Dan, how would she divide her time between the membership office and the pro shop, or would she be doing the membership duties in the pro shop?
Am I still on?
Yep.
Okay, as the season progresses, and right now the membership office has really slowed down, she'll be spending at least half of her time over there in that pro shop. She's in charge of entering all of the pro shop materials, merchandise into our 4UP system and keeping track of all of the sales, the ordering, and so on and so forth in the pro shop. So as it would vary depending upon, if we were in a regular session right now where the membership was coming in, she'd be spending more time in the membership office.
I love this change for Danielle to be more involved also on the pro shop side of the street, because she's interfacing with the membership. She'll see them signing in. I think it's much better customer service. And, because when the membership is, done with, applications, she can be very helpful across the street.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really, I applaud Brian for actually engaging her in that respect.
Any other questions on number 2? Number 3 is pretty much filling out our maintenance crew up at the maintenance facility. These 3 guys are new hires. Minimum wage in the beginning. The policy on outings. We right now, the outings for our country club are one of our 4 major revenue sources. Right now, we have 8 different outings that are either asking for a rollover or asking for a refund or asking for a new date. We have no Monday dates. We are totally filled on Mondays. We've discussed this, I have discussed this with Brian, Margot, and a number of the CCMAC members to offer perhaps Thursdays as a makeup for some of these outings. And in return, we would allow our weekday members to play on a Saturday after 11 o'clock when we're fairly slow. We can't afford to lose these outings. I would say at least half of them would reschedule for a Thursday through the months of July, August, September, and October. We would not fill in every Thursday, for example, in July. We would probably do 2 in July, 2 in August, something along those lines. The CCMAC was kind of in favor of it. The entire CCMAC has not met, obviously. They don't have the luxury of meeting the way we're meeting. They will be meeting via email and voting on this, but I'm pretty sure this is something that is desirable and that we need. So I would ask that the board approve using Thursdays as a makeup rather than, we really don't want to give refunds. Refunds would be devastating to our revenue source. The rollovers, although that would be easy this year, it would put us under a real gun next year. I would rather, if we can, reschedule these outings for Thursdays this year and get our revenue in.
That's fine. Stan, you touched upon the fact that the membership then could be able to book a tea time on the following Saturday, right?
Yeah, any Saturday to make up for the Thursday that they might lose. Most of our outings, there's a single outing, it's a small outing. In most cases, when we have an outing, a member can still play, but there are circumstances where a member, for example, if a member is working and the outing is in the afternoon, they would lose Thursday. They could make that up by playing on a Saturday.
Okay. Bruce?
If that requires a motion, I would move to support that.
Oh, okay. Do you want to memorialize this in a motion, Stan?
Yes, I really would. I would like the support of the board on this.
Okay, so Barbara, that's going to become number 9?
9.
Okay. Thank you, Stan. I think the membership, having opened the course on time and keeping strict rules of distancing and one person per cart, I think they should be very, very happy that they're out there playing golf right now.
Yeah, the golf situation is going along fairly well. We've had a good turnout. It seems the membership is abiding by the social distancing. As you said, we're allowing only 1 person per cart. We've taken a lot of precautions. All of the sign-ins are doing outdoors. No one is going in the pro shop. We have another situation that I have to talk about, though, and that's the tennis courts. The tennis court, Bustamante showed up today to start work on those tennis courts. His explanation was it's now or never because he feels he's going to be shut down. So they started working on those tennis courts today. And with that, he recommended that those screens do go up to protect the new reconditioned tennis courts.
Yep.
We have no idea, of course, when we're going to open. We could be closed for 2 months. But if he's reconditioning those courts without the windscreens, we'd be throwing money away.
Joe, we talked about parks going up to do windscreens, right? I'd said not to delay that, to keep that, otherwise they get really backed up, right? Can you check with Dave?
Yeah,
Right.
well,
My understanding, they did the lower courts,
they did,
suspended the work on the other side. but we can get them moving forward to have them
Correct.
installed as soon as possible. My
Correct.
question to you, Stan, would be, do the screens have to be installed before Bustamante and his crew set up the golf course for the tennis courts for the season?
No, no, they don't.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they would probably be able to work simultaneously. They put up the ones on the east side of the lower court, so they were already up. They did not go back because I asked Dave to back away. I didn't realize Bustamante had this. This is the only job he's going to be doing, is what he told us today. He's going to be closed down. He's going
Right.
to finish our job. And since he's going to do that, I think we better put those windscreens up.
Okay, I'll coordinate with Dave, and I'll speak to you as well.
Okay.
We'll get that going again.
Okay, great. That's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, Stan.
All
Bruce DeBramo, how you doing?
There is a motion on the floor here. It needs a second if we're going to vote on it.
Oh, I'll second
Whoa,
that
wait.
motion.
Point of order. We just made
right.
it number 9. On the agenda, Bruce, we just made it action item number 9.
All right. Very
All
good.
right.
Bruce DeBramo?
Yeah, the other thing I have to report is the activity in the building department last month. It was very quiet over there, except for just a few things. We had one application for a rental. Certificates, 11 were issued. 9 were certificates of compliance. 1 was a CEU, and 1 was a certificate of occupancy.
Wow, nine CFCs in 1 month?
Yep. Certificates
weird.
of compliance. Well, they usually follow, a house sale or a, change of property owners. So, applications. We had 20 applications. 6 were for residential additions. 5 were for rentals. There were 2 sign applications that came in, and 2 for commercial additions. Building permits, we had 16. OTRs, there were 4. 2 were for preventive or maintenance. There was actually some graffiti on 2 buildings, and 1 was for failing to have a license, and 1 was a zoning issue. Signs, we had 2 permits, 1 on Oakland Avenue and 1 on Mariners Way. Violations, 6 were issued, 2 for open areas, 2 for graffiti.
Busy month.
Let's see, 1 for, in the month, and 1 for parking/storage. But that concludes the activity of the Building and Planning Department.
Stan?
Yeah, I just want to go back a little bit. I do have something I think we need to discuss in executive session.
Okay.
That
Yep.
The Macadon deal?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to Trustee Miller.
Yes, I had put on the agenda a request to discuss an email that was sent to the trustees regarding a person not living in Port Jefferson who overstayed his parking and was fined. He paid the parking fine, but apparently had second thoughts, contacted us, and I've supported helping our downtown business and making accommodations that help them. Obviously, business depends on clientele, and looking for a happy clientele. Visitors to Port Jefferson is something I support as well. Now, perhaps somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, he was fined. It was a half-hour parking space that the gentleman overstayed, but it has occurred to me from my visits to Port Jefferson downtown that there's not a lot of demand on parking, and I'm wondering if we should relax that, at least at this particular time during the flu epidemic.
I can speak to that.
Sure. Kathy Ann?
We have relaxed the parking in the, well, we're still on not enforcing the parking in the lots right now. The meters are still covered and we're not charging for parking. What we have done is extended the open date from April 15th to currently May 1st in order to start charging for parking again. And the reason that we continue enforcement on Main Street and the on-street parking is because right now with the many businesses that are closed during this pandemic, the only places that are open are the restaurants for takeout and delivery. We need those spots to turn over very, very frequently so people can get in and out, pick up their food and go. And for the delivery service, people to be able to stop at each of the different establishments. We have a unified delivery service now that the village has put together. So it's one person that's going to the different establishments. It's not each particular establishment's own delivery person. So they need to be able to pull up, get the orders and get it out to the residents quickly and keep that moving. So that's why we continue to enforce the on-street parking. I can't imagine that there is any reason that somebody would have to park on street for an extended period of time if all the businesses are closed, in addition to the lots being, full and available. So that's why we continue to enforce the on-street parking.
Kevin, are you still there?
I am.
So did you see this email that came through to us as well?
No. Regarding parking? No.
Yeah, I guess there was somebody who, received a overtime parking violation for parking on Main. So I didn't know if you had because sometimes you see these, you address it, you speak to the patron and.
Sure.
Okay, so
we have we all know we have a pending changing of times on Main Street too, as well.
To go to an hour. When is that? Well, we passed that. Did we pass that already?
It's passed. Just a sign change, a physical sign change, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 1 hour.
So when am I getting those signs done?
Joe?
Mayor, we're waiting for the sign inventory to come in so our DPW staff can make the signs. And once that's done, they will be installed. Hopefully.
Okay. Sorry?
Hopefully soon.
Can you check with Steve on that for me, please?
Yes.
Okay. That should help everybody on Main, but.
So comment. So we're going to 1 hour parking, which is not quick pickup parking any longer. And if somebody can tell me that there's a lot of demand on Main Street for parking space, then I could understand enforcing fines for overtime parking. But I just haven't seen it in my experience driving through. So maybe somebody can enlighten me on this.
Well, I think we just heard from Trustee Snaden, and basically, Kathy, and we can reach out to Chief Lute because I'm sure the guys have a lot of other priorities right now. But I think, keeping a spot open for the restaurants to do the pickup and the delivery, the curbside pickup. We've let even to the point where I see sandwich boards now in the street. We're allowing that. So, Kevin, and Barb, if you could forward that email to Kevin, let him reach out to this non-resident and see if we can, send him a smart card or whatever we do.
Sure. We'll take care of it.
Him for his, but it's a point well made. Right now, the businesses need all the support they can get, but until the signs are up, I do want to say that the last 2 days going downtown, there were on both sides of the street, we had lines of motorcycles. So in those instances, I'm definitely going to be enforcing the 1.5 hour parking to keep those people who are there moving along. So I think the Code Enforcement Bureau has to start using a little discretion on Main.
We should just talk about the fact that, Bruce, because it's going to 1 hour, at 8 p.m., the benefit is literally at 7 p.m., they can park the rest of the night. And we do need, as you know, those spaces in the summer under normal times. So someone can start at 7 p.m. and park the rest of the night for free, by the
Yeah.
way.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
Well, that it's just in terms of demand.
But what
Yeah.
we don't want to happen now is people to take all the spots up and down Main Street so they can just walk around the village and enjoy their outdoor time, and blocking then the access in and out for the delivery people of the restaurants, because we need
Right.
those to keep those businesses going
Right.
at this time.
agreed.
All right.
Careful,
well,
it's a careful balance right now.
Right.
I'll just let this go, but nobody has told me that the demand outstrips the supply. So
If you were downtown yesterday or Saturday, you would have seen a lot of parking on Main Street. So, and motorcycles. Okay, Kathy, we're up to you. Your report.
Okay. Yes, as liaison to the school district, we've been working together with the school superintendent, offering whatever we can to help them. We initially started discussing their childcare program, and we were able to, discuss their needs and what we could do down at the village center, and they were able to get their program up and running. But we're in constant communication with Jessica Schmatan of the school district, and working together during this pandemic and doing what we can to help them out. As liaison to the code enforcement, a lot of this has been discussed in this meeting already. We have increased the number of officers on duty to enforce the social distancing rules. We have an officer down at the beaches. East and West Beach remain open, but they are enforcing the resident only down there and making sure that everybody stays socially distanced. We are, as per the governor on one of the phone calls, we found that the governor says that fines now can be imposed up to $1,000 per violation on social distancing. My understanding, currently in the village is people are being warned, and most people are, abiding by what they're being asked to do. So we're happy about that, but code has been on top of everything, and every complaint, like the mayor was discussing earlier, a lot have come in, and our guys are working very, very hard, and I'm very proud of our force. They're doing an incredible job under the circumstances, so I'm really happy with that. As liaison to the court, court remains.
Can we talk about the bicycle code for a minute?
Oh, yeah.
Because you had done some work with Rich on that.
The bicycle code?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have an update here, enforcement of our bicycle code. So are we ready to enforce that by means of taking the bikes?
Yes, we are.
Okay, because I know you work with Rich on that, and also the Code Enforcement Bureau and Joe on a process of getting, if the kids come down the street on their bikes again, we are now ready to confiscate. Is that the right word, Brian? What's the word?
It is confiscate. Yeah.
Confiscate the bikes, and we have a storage.
We have a secure storage facility with a secure location, and they would have to then come down with their parents to retrieve that bicycle. And there's a procedure, and there are forms that need to be filled out and signed on behalf of the village, as well as the owner of the bicycle.
Excellent. That's a big.
Pictures are taken of the condition of the bicycle at the time, when it's confiscated and when it's returned, and hopefully we don't have to do that. But if necessary and a dangerous situation presents itself with the bicycles, we have to keep our residents safe.
Yep, we had a gang of 30 come down a couple weekends ago, and they were intercepted by Suffolk and our crew, and you guys were tweaking that section of the process involved. So now we're ready, and we told them next time they come down here, we'll be taking your bike. So hopefully that works. Thank you.
Yes, the fence at Pax Christi has gone up. It looks beautiful. It's the fence that is on the westerly side of Pax that goes along the railroad station parking lot to help prevent the unwanted interactions between the Pax residents and the commuters. So that's gone up. I'm really happy with our partnership with Pax, and that's done and complete and looks great. Liaison to the courts, as we all know, the courts remain closed, and all the sessions for April have been canceled, and all the defendants have been notified or being notified this week by mail of those dates.
Good.
As liaison to the parking committee, we talked about that. Meters are going to be extended, suspended until May 1st. Timed parking on the street I'm sorry?
Brian, do we need a board resolution for May 1st or no?
Yeah, we originally set that by resolution, so we'd have to, if we were going to extend it or rescind it, we have to do that by resolution as well.
So we have to add that.
So is it too early to tell? Should we wait till the next board meeting?
Well, it's April 15th right now, correct?
Kevin? You gotta unmute yourself.
I certainly should know that. It was April 1st, everyone. April 1st.
April 1st, I'm sorry. So I guess we should do it now then.
Yeah, I
But
recommend,
my concern is I don't know if we're gonna start on May 1st.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
But Brian, if we had stated that it was April 1st and we're obviously past that date,
so
can we just not enforce? How do we do that?
no, what I would recommend is that we pass a resolution tonight, extending that time till May 1st. If we need to address it later, we can address it later with another extension.
Okay.
Do we, Kevin, what day of the week is May 1st? Let's pick a date that like kind of makes sense and line it up with our next board meeting. So we're not doing this.
Our next board meeting would be May 4th.
May 1st to Friday.
Where's my clerk? Where's my good looking clerk? Come on, Barb.
May 1st is a Friday. May 4th is the first Monday.
Gotta unmute yourself, Barb.
Kevin,
I got you. I got you. Yep, you're done.
May 4th is a Monday. We also have a board meeting. The 1st is a Friday.
So should we do it to the 4th then?
I think, Kev,
Yeah. Yeah. From this point to that point would make sense.
Don't we have another meeting in April?
yeah, we do. We have another
Yes, we
meeting
do.
on the 20th.
April 20th.
Let's do that.
Let's do what?
That would be in advance of May 1st, right? Yeah.
Right. So are you saying you don't want to make the change till the April 20th meeting?
Yeah, maybe we'll know a little bit more whether we're going to get through in May by that.
I think we have to make it now because we're already past the April 1st date. So we have to do it now until.
I'm going to defer to the attorney.
You know what? I agree that doing it now would be okay, but as long as the parking meters are covered, nobody's paying. So.
Yeah, from a practical standpoint, Trustee DeBramo is correct, but just to make sure that our books are right and there's no mishandling, I'd make a recommendation that if we're going to extend our time, adjourn the start date from April 1st, we should adjourn it to whatever date you want. If you want to adjourn it to the April 20th meeting, do that, or you could adjourn it to May 1st.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would say May 1st, and then if you need to make a change on April 20th, you still have that opportunity, right, Brian?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Good.
got that. So we're going to add resolution
Number 10.
Number 10.
to adjourn the enforced parking season to May 1st. Okay, Kathy Ann, keep going. I think you got one more thing.
One last, yes, as liaison to the Business Improvement District, as you all know, that the delivery service is up and running, that we partnered with the Business Improvement District as the village to have that delivery service. It's going very well. I stay in close contact with the person that's pretty much the point person in coordinating that, which is James Luciano from the Port Jeff Lobster House. And that's going very well. I know personally I've used the service a number of times and it's been fantastic. So I'm really happy about that. We continue in conjunction with that to maintain our portjeff.com/open today Facebook page, which is updated, I think daily, right, Mayor?
Yep.
As to what businesses are doing what on that particular day, if it's pickup and delivery, if they're closed on the day or whatever day they're open or what their hours are. We have been directing people, residents only for the delivery service can go there, or anybody can go there to see who's open, what's being served, and then the delivery service is for residents only. So that's been working fantastic as well. We're really happy about that. Thank you to Teresa for managing that whole platform on our website. It's been going well. The village has connected with the bid in matching funds to have meals donated to those on the front line in the local hospitals. So it's helping those doctors and nurses and frontline people in the hospitals, and it's also helping the businesses because these meals are going through our local restaurants and being taken to the hospitals. That was also then matched by the TFCU, who donated $5,000. So far, the bid has contributed $6,700, and the village has contributed another $5,000. So we're happy to do that. We're supporting our front line and supporting the businesses as well. So it's a win-win for everybody.
So we've included the EMS, the ambulance company up on North Country, that little extension of North Country Road in that rotation, and also Infant Jesus Food Pantry.
Food pantry, yes.
It's I guess Welcome Friends Soup Kitchen is still in operation, and the restaurants are donating meals, takeaway meals, to the soup kitchens now. So it's there's a lot of need in different places, but the program is helping keep the restaurants open and the resources flowing to those that need them. Great
And
effort.
the school as well, is they continue to provide meals for the students who are less fortunate and still rely on those meals. Anything left over is being taken to the Infant Jesus Food Pantry as well.
Yeah.
So everybody's working together as a team, and I'm really happy about that. And then on a much lighter note, the bid has purchased and provided, you may have seen the red, white, and blue flags that say open. The mayor helped organize that, which was fantastic. And they were provided to any of the businesses that are still up and running, and they are hanging outside the businesses. So it's very easy for patrons coming down the street to see what's open, what's not open. And it's a nice unified, uniform look to support all the businesses. And that concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy Ann. Brian, Mr. Egan.
No, nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
We have Administrator Palumbo. Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. This agenda item is to award the construction of the pickleball complex contract to Century Tennis. As you know, the village received 4 bids that ranged from $141,000 to $384,000. Century actually submitted 2 options in their proposal.
We have is that the addendum in our packet, Joe?
Correct.
Okay.
One was for an asphalt court at the $141,000, and the other was for a concrete court at $168,000. Both of Century's options were lower than the next lowest bidder at $195,000. As the mayor just mentioned, your backup material should have an email from myself that shows the pros and cons of both options. With regard to asphalt, it is definitely the cheaper option. However, the court is likely to crack with any ground movement. Given the location of the pickleball court, there is probably going to be some movement, being its location to the bluff line. Just keep that in mind as I go through the pros and cons for both options. The court will likely crack within 8 to 10 years without any ground movement. So even if there is no ground movement, the court is expected to crack given play, given the elements, and giving any the period of time that goes by. The court will also require recoloring within 5 to 10 year period, depending again on play, and that is estimated to cost approximately $12,000. Concrete, definitely the more expensive option. However, the court is not likely to crack with any ground movement. So in my conversations with Century, they had explained to me that the concrete slab that these courts would be made out of would basically ride along with any movement that could occur beneath it as time goes by. The court requires little to no maintenance. The court will also require recoloring within the 5 to 10 year period, as with the asphalt. However, that cost is 1/3 of the cost to recolor asphalt, and that's at $4,000. The concrete option also comes with a 20-year warranty. I followed up with Century to ask them what that warranty included, And they specifically said that the warranty covers the slab from any structural cracks or cable failure. There is no warranty with respect to the asphalt option. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
So the recommendation, I'm guessing, is to go with the concrete.
That is correct.
Yeah, as long as the concrete is reinforced concrete with steel in it, then what the contractor said is probably true. It will ride along with any changes in the ground.
It is reinforced steel. I do have pictures from Century from a court that they had done recently, and it is done with steel and concrete.
Great, thanks.
Stan, do you have any comments?
Just that I would strongly recommend the concrete. I think in the long run, we're going to be ahead of the game.
Okay, because you had at some point you had thought maybe the asphalt would be a preferred material, but clearly concrete's the way to go
Well,
here.
Any 20-year warranty, and the difference in the pricing on the velvet seal that was on the top of both of these applications, the concrete would be the better choice.
Okay. I think it's great work, and I'm glad you guys put this out a second time. Get a real broad spectrum on the bids coming through. So, are there any
Well,
other questions? Yeah.
I certainly think we got the right company. Century Tennis, this is what they do. A lot of those other companies do not do tennis courts or pickleball courts.
Okay, good. Joe, do you have another item?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. In a lengthy resolution, but it's it's one of those.
That's just a formality.
Right.
So this resolution is essentially to enter into an agreement with Comp Alliance to provide workers' compensation coverage to village employees. We are currently entering our third year of a 3-year agreement with PERMA. Based on PERMA's pricing schedule, if we have a loss ratio of between 10 and 25%, the premium this year is expected to be approximately $165,000. The village received a quote from Comp Alliance of $131,000 for the same loss ratio. This is a difference of $34,000 in savings. Unfortunately, however, the village will have to incur a $17,000 penalty by moving from PERMA to Comp Alliance. So the savings would only be about $17,000, but it is still a savings nonetheless. In terms of service, we do not expect any changes in the coverage that we are receiving or any service that we are receiving. Both companies are essentially the same in terms of surplus and the number of members. PERMA, for example, has a $34 million surplus and 324 members, whereas Comp Alliance has a $39 million surplus with 300 members. So my recommendation would be that we move from PERMA, we incur the penalty, we go with Comp Alliance and save $17,000 this year.
Fine. Let me just.
I want to applaud Joe on this work. I mean, this is quite a nice savings. It's a very good initiative for us to get over to the Comp Alliance plan. And even with the penalty we'd incur in leaving the existing plan, Joe still saved us money on this move. So I think that it's. I want to thank Joe for his work on this. Riding this back home, because it's really quite something.
And you reviewed making sure there's no other penalties or anything like that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Stan, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And the penalty's only for the 1 year, correct?
Correct.
We're done. Big
Thank you,
savings.
Joe. Yeah, it is. No, thank you. Um,
Thank you.
okay, so Denise was not required to be on the call tonight. You had the warrants. I had a couple questions that she answered for me. I think under the capital, there was a warrant for Port Jeff Rental Center was $1,269. That was equipment that the Parks Department had to bring in from the rental company, Taylor Rental, up on Route 112 to help them with the tow stairwell project. That project, as we knew, was going to cost approximately $80,000 if we went out to bid. Right now, we're close to about $8,000 in for materials, with the Parks Department doing all the grading, taking out of the plantings, all of the stone wall work, and installation of now sprinkler systems. The small patio is in place. We have the 2 benches, as I reported last time, donated by Lisa Harris. And the next phase is going to be to work on the concrete mortar, brick and mortar on the what are those things called? I don't know, half walls, and the lighting. The lighting could be a good coin, but I don't know, Joe, is it too late to add them maybe to the New York, the project we're doing with NYSERDA? Maybe we can add those on. We'll look into that.
Yeah, we can certainly ask them.
Yeah. And by the way, that contract's being finalized, right, Joe? I don't have anything yet to sign, but I should have something to sign very soon.
Yes, it is still making its way through NIPA.
Okay. The other warrants, I have a question on, Stan, maybe you can help me with this. It's in the Port Jeff Country Club budget, Harold's LLC for 15 grand. Is that the carts? I can ask Denise again, but I didn't
I have no
I didn't know
idea.
who Harold's was on the Port Jeff Country Club. But I didn't have any other questions. We are getting the backup on the Galino and Sons, and I did want to talk on the other warrant that internal auditor wasn't signing off on was with respect to a trailer. Now, we often think of a trailer as something we hitch up to the back of our car and we're towing something along, but this is the Parks trailer that's been outside behind Village Hall by the tennis court parking lot. We've been leasing that for $1,200 a month, and we looked into the option to buy, and this figure of 23 grand is the buyout figure. And Joe provided backup when we were making this decision from another trailer company that's on the Suffolk County list, and that quote was minimally $4,000 higher, and that was without delivery and the hookup for electric and water. So I think if we provide that backup to the internal auditor, that may hopefully satisfies him, because I wouldn't want to be forced to go buy something more expensive on a county list. So, Bruce?
There's some work that needs to be done on that trailer. Have we factored that into the?
What kind of work is that?
What work does the trailer need?
Oh, there's some interior deterioration there.
We could certainly look at that, and maybe our maintenance mechanic could fix whatever issues exist.
Either that or try and get a couple dollars off the price.
Or we could try and do that.
Either one.
Margot,
Yeah.
that charge at the country club, was that the range machine to pick up the balls?
I don't know, Harold's LLC. If that's not in the proper line, I will have that, a budget entry done. Stan,
Okay.
I don't know who Harold's is. So,
What was the price? What was the money amount?
but a little over 15,000. That's why it struck me.
Okay.
So, I'm looking into it. Okay. So then we have, Barbara, our clerk.
To COVID, the Mather Walk for Hope was May 2nd. They were just very proactive as soon as this COVID incident started. So they put in to have their walk on Saturday, October 3rd. We had all their original paperwork, as this was originally approved by the board. I already notified code, because since this is all through the streets of Port Jefferson, Just code is an integral part of this walk for them. So
Okay.
that's October 3rd. The second one is the Explorium. They had their Maker Fair for the 6th. I checked with Renee. They want to have it on September 13th at the Village Center. It was okay with Renee. We changed their banner location. So it's just a change of date. The board had already approved it for the original date in June.
Great. So those are just rescheduling
Rescheduled dates. Yep.
gatherings. Okay. And I think safely into the year that hopefully we won't have to worry about that time of year.
Correct.
Next meeting is April 20th at 3:30, same bat time, different Zoom channel. And just wondering if anybody else has any questions or concerns.
I believe there's a resident trying to ask a question on the chat, Kevin, on YouTube.
He should call in. There's a phone number on the. It's up to the mayor. He's asking, can I ask questions via chat? We had it. I see it. I guess he could, in reality.
Well, Lorraine needs his name and his address.
Yeah,
the
it's
record. I know it's better to call in. So that's
it's better to call in. Yeah, we'll hear him. It'll be fantastic. So you have the phone number?
Yep, I gave it.
I have the.
I'm
okay.
telling him, yeah.
Okay. So.
Brian, are you home? Brian?
No, I'm at the office.
Yeah. I like your nice. Is that a gold chair?
It should be if it isn't.
The appropriate term is throne, but no.
It looks gold, right? Doesn't it? It's tan or gold. It looks gold.
Better than the throne at home.
It's a porcelain one.
It's got a nice ride you got there. And Joe, how you doing? How you doing, Joe?
Doing
good?
great.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful. I'll be back in the office tomorrow
Excellent.
with my letter, Barbara.
Okay, leave it on my desk.
Yeah.
Now I'm banished.
Good news, Joe.
By the way, he just had, what did you have? You have a cough, but you were not COVID or anything, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Just for the record.
Just for the record, exactly.
Off the record, for the record. We get this.
I was tested today at Stony Brook University, and I'll get my results tomorrow.
How you feeling, Bruce? How you
Feel
feeling?
fine. My temperature's been good, so I think I'm going to be all right.
What prompted you to get a test?
You know, I've been taking my sister-in-law to cancer treatments, and she turned up positive. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Okay, caller's on. I'm going to admit the caller. Mayor.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, I'm going to unmuting the caller. Say hello.
Hello, caller. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Great.
This is my first time calling into one of these, so is there a procedure or process I need to follow?
Yes, you need to state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure, it's Tim Carey. My address is 54 Leeward Court.
Okay, so Tim, can you spell your last name, please?
C-A-R-E-Y.
Thank you. What can we do for you?
Just a really silly quick question, and actually it's two-part. One is more of a concern. The question was regarding the parking at the end of Waterview Drive.
Okay.
What's the requirement there? I was actually over there tonight on my way back home from East Beach, and I noticed that it's a resident-only area and there's a little cul-de-sac. In terms of, is that just open, just park wherever you want, or I was curious.
Yeah, it's resident-only, and it's kind of, I think it's restricted to, I don't think it allows you to stand for long periods of time. So basically,
okay.
You can't park there, for instance, and launch a kayak and have the car there for hours. So usually
Okay.
a car will be, parked up, you know, further up the street on Winston by the little bird sanctuary. You know what that is?
That appeared to be blocked off today. I don't know if it was closed or.
Okay, that should be open, but it depends on what time of day, because the Parks Department goes around and closes the gates at dusk. So depending on, you know, when dusk was this evening, when you were out and about, but those gates are closed at dusk. But the cul-de-sac is really just for residents to go down, stay in their car, look at the view, you know, and not for long-term parking. I can double check on actually what the time limit is there. I think it's either half hour or 20 minutes. It's not a long time.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't clear with any signage or anything, so I didn't want to just, you know, park and take a walk down the beach there.
Okay. So Joe, can you do me a favor? Can you check on the signage with Steve Gallagher on the cul-de-sac? Joe?
Yes.
Thank you. I think there's signs there. I was down there the other day, but I think it's far off to the left. But anyway, Tim, what's your second question?
More of a concern, just East Beach, beautiful beach, and one of my favorite things about being a resident of the village is visiting that beach. The concern being that I know there was a message, I believe I read it on the, maybe on Facebook, it might have been the village put out a notification indicating that there was to be a code officer present just checking and whatnot on vehicles going into the area. I can tell you for the past several days that I've been down there, one day there was a code officer when I arrived, and roughly 45 minutes to an hour later, he was no longer there. There was, you know, a lot of teens hanging out in the rocks. I know there's signage there for a fact, indicating that, you know, that's not supposed to be, and we're supposed to be keeping our distance and whatnot. But today I noticed there was a lot of out-of-state plates, a lot of non-residents that were there. It seems to be pretty commonplace at that beach in general, regardless of season. But I just wanted to bring that up and make sure that the powers that be were aware of that.
So Tim, what time were you down the beach today?
Today I went down probably, I got there around 6 o'clock and left around 7:30.
Okay, so I was there personally yesterday, and for the hour and a half that I was there, I watched and that was mid-afternoon between like 2 and 3:30. We watched the code officer turn. For every one resident car that came down, there was about another 10 that were turned away. So you're right, there's a lot of non-residents trying to come down the hill. The challenge that we have with 6 o'clock is that we have a change of guard. Our code enforcement bureau, they work from 10 to 6 and then from 6 to midnight. So that 6 o'clock hour, that little bewitching hour, is tough for us to get a car down there like between 5:30 and 6:30. But, you know, we will emphasize that when the new shift comes on, that they report immediately down there and make sure that, you know, the non-residents are either ticketed or asked to leave. We're trying to be a little patient, but, you know, our emphasis is to not, you know, for everybody to try and respect that. We've left the beaches open for people to go down and take a nice walk, as you're saying, and we don't want to close them for, you know, take away that privilege for the few that can't abide by our regulations. So we noticed also yesterday when we were there, the code officer left for about 10 minutes, and it was because he had to go use the restroom up at the country club, and then he came back down the hill. But
I've driven through there a few times as late as today, and what I've seen too is that I'll be down driving through East Beach and I see the officer there, they pull out, I go down to West Beach, and then I see them come down there. So they are also going in between the two beaches, depending on who's on and how many officers are on at that time. So they'll alternate. So you may be at one and they, you know, might be at the other. So they're going back and forth as well when there's not able to have, you know, one car at each beach. So thank you for letting us know that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't pretend to understand everything that goes into policing two different beaches and making sure that it stays nice and clean and everyone's being safe. You know, but I do, you know, want to bring it to your attention to make sure that people are aware. It's not just something now. I've lived here in the village for probably 6 years, I think. And it's been an ongoing thing that I've noticed. It's not just one particular season or another, but, you know, I have brought it up on occasion, just something that I wanted to mention and share with the group here. So thank you for taking the time to listen.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for calling in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care and stay safe.
Thanks. Anybody else, Kevin?
No, nobody's in queue.
Okay, great. Well, motion to adjourn the meeting then this evening, folks, and thank you for participating at 8:31.